Sure. My name is Piotr Winkielman, and I'm a professor of psychology at the University of California, San Diego. Well, I'd love to tell you about how people make preference judgments or how people decide whether they like something or not. And it's a very broad space. It's a space that ranges from how we evaluate art, whether we find a piece of art attractive or not, whether we like a particular kind of music, a particular kind of car, or whether we find a face attractive, but also other judgments that are kind of in the domain of goodness or badness. So whether we trust someone, whether we find someone competent, how do people basically decide what they like or what they don't like? Well, I would add that I'm a person who's interested in emotion and affect. So for me, when I talk about preferences, it's something that kind of reflects our positive or negative feeling about an object. You know, if you talk about economists and they talk about preferences, they would say you prefer this refrigerator over the other refrigerator, which doesn't mean that people really like it in the sense that they feel warm towards one refrigerator over another refrigerator. For me, liking, preference has to do with feelings of warmth, this mechanism in the brain that makes us kind of feel a little bit of that warm glow when we're thinking about an object. Well, I think this topic is a classic topic in psychology, and I think it's a classic topic in philosophy and, social sciences, because, not only people, but all organisms have to make choices. A hummingbird or a bee has to decide to go to either one patch of flowers, another patch of flowers. People, since the beginning of their life, had to choose their mates, they have to choose their friends, have to determine what's good or bad. So kind of the sense of goodness or badness is a classical topic. So has always interested me because it's one of those classical topics. But also I was influenced by very much my advisor in the graduate school, who was a well-known psychologist, social psychologist, Bob Zając, who happens to be from the same country. He was born in Poland. I was also born in Poland. And he was one of those people who kind of started kind of this big interest in social psychology about preferences. He wrote a famous article called "Preferences Need No Inferences," about how your feeling of liking can be kind of independent of what you think about an object. It's not all derived from your beliefs about some sort of cold beliefs about whether the object has good features or bad features. So there's something more to preferences than just reasoned arguments. Yes, so maybe I will continue with the story of of Bob Zając. So one of the effects in psychology that he is best known for, and it's probably in every textbook of psychology and it's widely applied in life, is an effect called mere exposure effect. So mere exposure effect is basically an increase in your preference, in your liking for an object as a result of merely seeing an object, purely seeing an object. And people might know this effect under kind of names that familiarity breeds liking, or warmth glows of familiarity. So Bob Zając was well known for running some of the first experiments on mere exposure. So in the paradigm that he used, and I also used in my work, we would take an object, it could, for example, be a face, and we would present it to participants under some sort of excuse of doing another task. Let's say you have to count the number of dots on the screen, but you would also see faces, and some faces would be presented one time, another face might be presented twice, 3 times, 5 times, up to 10 times. So you can kind of grade then a number of these mere exposure. Mere in the sense that there's nothing that you have to do on the face, it just appears incidentally without being kind of the main topic of the task. So after this mere exposure phase, we then ask participants to judge the preference of those faces. And that could be in the form of a scale. How much do you like the scale on this face on the scale from 1 to 9? Or it could be in the form of an alternative forced choice task. So 2 faces are presented on the screen and you have to choose the one you like more. Or in a paradigm that we recently used, we choose a face that you think is more smiley. So this way participants are not even asked directly about liking, but they are choosing what seems to them be a happier face. And the effect, a very robust effect in this literature, is that the more participants have seen the face, the more they like it. So the face that was presented 5 times is liked more than face that was presented 1 time or never presented. So people show this warm glow of familiarity. And maybe if I can add one more thing, you can also use physiological techniques, psychophysiological techniques to measure people's reactions. So in my lab, we use a technique called facial electromyography, where we put electrodes on people's cheeks and their brows, and we look at this kind of low-level degree of smiling. People smile a little bit more to a face that was nearly exposed. Right, so we're guided by this idea that our mind likes easy processing and the brain rewards efficiency in coding. We decided to examine the possibility that all sorts of phenomena that lead to attractiveness are actually related to this ease of processing. And one fascinating phenomenon is people's preferences for faces that are average or typical. It's a well-known effect in psychology called beauty-in-averageness effect. And it's not only occurs in psychology, it also is well known in biology, that organisms will prefer a mate or that has more typical features. So by typical or average, I mean features that are not too extreme, not deviant. Basically, if you think about the face that would have an average nose, average ears, average chin, average lips, average eye size. So that's called beauty-in-averageness effect. It doesn't mean that average people are attractive in the sense, the kind of colloquial sense, but it means that people where all the features are just right, kind of in the 3 bears type of principles. If you have all the features in the right level, then your face is perceived attractive. It's a well-known phenomenon. It has been discovered over 100 years ago, almost by accident. This is actually an interesting story of an English psychologist or even or maybe biologist, Galton, who was interested in how a typical, let's say, Englishman or Irishman look like. And he was also interested in how a typical criminal looks like. So he came up with this idea that you could take the pictures of criminals and put them together, so morph them, and see what the average face, the composite face, kind of morph face looked like. And to his surprise, he found that instead of an average criminal looking worse, because he expected the average criminal to have more criminal features, the actual average criminal looked better, so was rated as more attractive. So he accidentally discovered this beauty-in-averageness effect. Well, my son has just turned 15, so whenever I tell him a joke, he always says, "Oh, this is a dad joke." But I love dad jokes, but not only because I'm a dad. So there's a favorite dad joke that I like. That is very simple. It basically says what makes a dad joke. And what makes a dad joke is when a punchline is apparent.